It started with a single photograph, one image, two smiles, and a moment that would ripple through the entire sports world. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a casual snapshot. Two blondes posing at a NASCAR event, basking in the glow of celebrity cameras. But by the end of the day, that photo had become something much more. It was the spark that lit a firestorm, a viral collision of sports, Hollywood, and cultural tension that sent shockwaves through the WNBA and beyond. The scene was simple. Sophie Cunningham, the fiery sharpshooter from the Indiana Fever, stood shoulder to shoulder with Hollywood superstar Sweeney at the NASCAR Championship weekend. A crossover nobody saw coming. Sweeney, the golden face of American television and the new Hollywood sweetheart, was there to promote American-made. Sophie, fresh off a growing wave of fan attention, was there as herself, confident, witty, and effortlessly magnetic. When Sophie posted their photo to her verified Twitter account, it didn't take long before the internet lost its collective mind. Within minutes, the image was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Reddit threads, podcasts, everyone had an opinion. Fans called them America's new sweethearts, while sports pages flooded their feeds with the photo. And in true Sophie Cunningham fashion, she didn't just post a picture. She captioned it with a line that perfectly captured her cheeky, unfiltered charm. "One of us forgot our tits at home." That one sentence was enough to send social media into a frenzy. To some, it was funny and bold, exactly what makes Sophie one of the most charismatic personalities in the WNBA. To others, it was controversial, reckless even. An unfiltered joke in a league still fighting to polish its image. But whether people laughed or gasped, they were all talking about the same thing: Sophie Cunningham. In a matter of hours, the post exploded past 500,000 views, and the reactions came pouring in. Sports podcasts dissected it, entertainment outlets replayed it, and fans began debating what it all meant. Some joked that the WNBA had officially entered its pop culture era. Others claimed the league wasn't ready for this kind of unapologetic personality. Even the media couldn't resist spinning it into a narrative. On one podcast, the hosts laughed, calling Sophie and Sydney America's sweethearts, confirmed, while mockingly offering thoughts and prayers for the WNBA traditionalists who couldn't handle it. It was a funny moment, sure, but beneath the laughter, something deeper was unfolding. The WNBA, long criticized for being overly controlled, overly cautious, and often disconnected from mainstream pop culture, suddenly had a viral star in its ranks. Sophie Cunningham wasn't just trending, she was redefining what it meant to be a marketable athlete in women's basketball. Her carefree confidence stood in sharp contrast to the league's polished professionalism. Fans loved it because it felt raw and real. It wasn't a PR stunt or a media campaign, it was just Sophie being Sophie. But not everyone was amused. Behind the scenes, whispers began circulating from league insiders. Some executives reportedly felt uneasy about the attention, calling it off-brand and too distracting. The WNBA, after all, has spent years carefully crafting its image, balancing professionalism with inclusivity, trying to maintain credibility in the shadow of men's sports. And now, one viral joke had thrown all of that into chaos. Still, Sophie didn't seem to care. Her joke wasn't a statement or a protest, it was a moment of humor, a flash of personality. But that personality hit a nerve, exposing the tension between image control and individuality that's been simmering within women's basketball for years. Fans began asking the question that would dominate the debate. Why is it acceptable for male athletes to joke freely and post candid moments, while a WNBA player is criticized for doing the same? That question alone fueled hours of debate across social media. Meanwhile, the photo kept spreading. ESPN mentioned it on air, sports blogs wrote about it, and celebrity gossip pages picked it up. What had started as a simple NASCAR snapshot was now a full-blown cultural moment. But then, a new layer of intrigue emerged, one that hinted this might not have been as random as it seemed. In the photo, Sophie was wearing Adidas gear. First, nobody thought much of it, but to those who pay attention to sports marketing, that little logo changed everything. Adidas has been quietly rebuilding its presence in the WNBA, especially since Nike has long dominated the space, recently signing major stars like Caitlin Clark. For Adidas, finding someone with Sophie's mix of humor, charisma, and authenticity could be a gold mine. Her viral moment suddenly looked less like a coincidence and more like a perfectly timed brand play. Marketing analysts began dissecting it. Some called it a soft launch of Sophie's Adidas campaign, Others noted how her unfiltered energy fit perfectly with Adidas' new focus on personality-driven athletes. The brand has been pushing to redefine itself, less corporate, more human, and Sophie embodied that spirit effortlessly. She was confident, funny, fearless, and most importantly, real. But if Adidas was celebrating, Nike loyalists inside the WNBA were reportedly not. The league's partnership with Nike runs deep, and the idea that a rival brand was gaining traction through one of their own stars didn't sit well with everyone. According to whispers from insiders, some executives saw Sophie's viral fame as a brand hijack, a moment where Adidas had stolen attention that should have been the league's. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain. Sophie Cunningham had become the most talked about name in women's basketball that week. Her post had more engagement than some official league accounts. Her follower count surged. Sponsors started calling. And while the WNBA stayed silent, their silence only made the moment louder. But as the photo kept circulating, another storm began brewing closer to home, inside the Indiana Fever locker room. The team, already under immense scrutiny because of Caitlin Clark's arrival and their struggle to rebuild chemistry, suddenly found itself in the middle of a media circus. Sophie's viral fame had shifted the spotlight away from the team and onto her personal brand. Some players reportedly saw it as harmless fun, but others weren't thrilled. They felt the timing was bad, the focus misplaced, the attention unnecessary. It didn't help that the Fever were still trying to find their rhythm on the court. Management, according to insiders, grew uneasy about the distraction, unsure whether to embrace Sophie's rising stardom or rein it in. After all, the same qualities that made her a social media sensation, her humor, her fearlessness, her unpredictability, also made her a challenge for an organization that values discipline and focus. Yet others within the Fever saw an opportunity. Sophie's viral rise was bringing new eyes to the team. Her name was drawing clicks, engagement, and attention from fans who might never have watched a WNBA game otherwise. For them, Sophie wasn't a distraction, she was the future, a blueprint for how the league could finally break through to mainstream audiences. But that divide only deepened as old-school fans began voicing their frustration. Longtime supporters accused Sophie of Hollywoodizing the sport, chasing clout instead of championships. They argued that the WNBA should be about athletic excellence, not celebrity moments. Meanwhile, younger fans pushed back, saying this was exactly what the league needed. More personality, more life, more connection. It became a generational clash over what professionalism means in women's sports today. To some, Sophie's humor represented progress, a sign that WNBA players could finally show their personalities without apology. To others, it was a step backward, proof that fame was starting to overshadow the game itself. But Sophie stayed silent through it all. She didn't post clarifications. She didn't issue apologies. She didn't even acknowledge the controversy. Instead, she let the internet argue while her numbers continued to climb. That silence, that refusal to explain herself, became part of her power. It made her unpredictable, magnetic. The world wanted to know what she'd say next, especially with her podcast set to drop a new episode. Everyone was waiting to see if she'd double down or offer a more diplomatic take. Still, by then, it didn't matter what she said. Sophie had already won. Her brand, her image, her influence, it all exploded overnight. Adidas quietly capitalized, reposting clips and leveraging her rising star power. Marketing analysts began calling it one of the smartest unintentional PR moments in recent sports history. Without a campaign, without a press release, Sophie Cunningham had done what corporate marketing couldn't. She made the WNBA feel cool, current, and unpredictable. Her authenticity was her superpower. She didn't act like a brand ambassador or a polished spokesperson. She was real, laughing, joking, living her life, and that's what fans connected with. While some athletes spend months planning their public image, Sophie's natural charisma did all the work. One joke, one moment, one photo, that's all it took. And it didn't just benefit her. The ripple effect reached the entire league. Suddenly, conversations about the WNBA weren't limited to game stats and standings. People were debating culture, branding, and personality. They were watching, engaging, caring. Whether they loved Sophie or hated her, they couldn't look away. But perhaps the most telling part of the entire saga was the WNBA's reaction. Or rather, its lack of one. No statements, no clarifications, no acknowledgement. Just silence. For many fans, that silence said everything. It showed how the league still struggles to navigate this new era of athlete empowerment, where players can go viral on their own terms, without permission or PR approval. Because after this moment, one truth became impossible to ignore. Players like Sophie Cunningham don't need the league to define them anymore. They define themselves. In a single weekend, Sophie had exposed the fault line running through the WNBA, the tug-of-war between control and freedom, between tradition and evolution. Her humor may have started the conversation, but what it revealed was far more important. It showed that the league's future belongs to personalities, not just players. Sophie Cunningham isn't just part of the WNBA anymore. She's a brand, a movement, a cultural disruptor in sneakers and a smile. She turned controversy into connection, humor into influence, and a photo into a power shift that the league won't forget anytime soon. And as the world waits for her next move, her next post, her next laugh, her next unpredictable spark, one thing is clear. Sophie Cunningham didn't just break the internet. She rewrote the playbook for what it means to be a star in women's sports.